today we're gonna make my family's New Year's tradition. It's a lucky dish that my grandma used to prepare all of the time, kielbasa and sauerkraut, but we're gonna make it vegan. It's something that I used to have every New Year's Day, and I haven't had it for about 20 years, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I've been really excited because I've been thinking about ideas like this one where I wanted to share a little bit more information about me and like what I ate growing up in Northeast Ohio and how I come to like the food that I like today. But before we get into that, let's get started on this recipe. We are going to prepare our sauerkraut first, and to do that, we need to start with some cabbage and a little bit of thyme. So to make our sauerkraut, all we're gonna do is just peel off the outside layer of your cabbage, and then we're going to chop the cabbage in half, remove the inner stem, the inner core, and then slice the cabbage into long, thin slices. I like my sauerkraut to be pretty thin. Okay, so to make sauerkraut, you definitely need a food scale, you need a large bowl. We're gonna dump all of this in the large bowl here. I'm probably gonna have to do it in sections. I don't know if we're gonna get this all in one. So yeah, we're gonna do this in 2 sections. Now I've already zeroed out my bowl, so we have 583 grams of cabbage here. So we need to use 2% salt. So we need to add 11.6 grams of kosher salt, at least for this first batch. And then once we have that there, then all we have to do is just mix the salt into the cabbage and really, really knead it in. Make sure the salt, everything's nice and covered. This is not that hard of a recipe. Okay, so we massaged the cabbage. You could see so much water that has came out of this cabbage. I'm gonna pack a mason jar up. We want some room because we need some liquid to be remaining, so that way the cabbage can sit under the liquid and ferment. So I'm just using a small little rolling pin that I have to kind of press the cabbage down pretty packed, as firm as I can get it. And you're gonna see some cabbage floating around at the top. Now you wanna make sure that your mason jars are very clean with, just any ferment, you gotta make sure that your mason jars are clean. Now we have this packed all the way up to the top. There's some cabbage that's sitting here at the top. Just to make sure that's safe, I'm just gonna drop like a little cup down in there. That cup's gonna kind of hold the cabbage down in. And now you don't have to do this. I have these little burping things. These are great because I can screw this on, set this aside, and just forget about it, which is what I'm gonna do for about a week. If you don't have these, you're just gonna wanna make sure that your jar is screwed on kinda loose, and that every day or so you come by and just open it for a second and then close it for a second. You just wanna let the gases to allow the release. Otherwise this might explode, and we don't wanna do that. So let's set this aside for a week, and then we'll come back around New Year's and make my family's traditional kielbasa and sauerkraut. I am so stoked for this. Hey gang, while I eat my lunch, let me tell you a little bit about today's sponsor. Emmy is the first low-carb, high-protein, and 100% plant-based instant ramen. And each serving of Emmy has 21 grams of protein, 19 grams of fiber, and only 6 grams of net carbs. It's non-GMO and is 35% lower in sodium versus traditional brands. And I love that I can eat 100% plant-based, dairy-free, convenient ramen that not only tastes great, but is super high in protein, so it keeps me fuller longer. I'm not a big snack person. And Emmy currently has 3 really good flavors. There's spicy beef, the Tom Yum shrimp, which is Monica's favorite, and this one that I'm eating here, my favorite, the black garlic chicken. Wow, 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 wow. It is good, way good. And you probably hear me talking about sodium a lot lately. Now that I'm 40, it's something that I'm looking out for. And unlike the insanely high sodium and preservative-filled ramen packs that are line grocery store shelves, Emmy is nutrition packed. No more bloating or crazy thirst after your quick ramen lunches. So gang, click the link in the description below and use code SauceStache at checkout for $5 off. Or you can head over to emmyeats.com/SauceStache for $5 off your order. That's emmyeats.com/SauceStache, or click the link in the description below and use code SauceStache at checkout for $5 off your variety pack. You're going to love this Emmy ramen. It is so good, it tastes good, and I feel good about it. Emmy, thanks for providing me some lunches. I am loving these. I cannot wait to get more. They're good. Okay, it has been a week and this has came out absolutely wonderful. Now, I've already tasted it a few times along the way. It tastes incredible. Now, when my grandma made this, it was pretty common for her to just buy ready-made sauerkraut. She didn't go through the whole process, let it sit for a week, 2 weeks. She just bought it ready-made. And then after talking to my mom, I know that my grandma would actually wash the sauerkraut before she cooked it. She didn't like some of the bitter flavors. I don't know if we're gonna do that today, but really the rest of her kielbasa and sauerkraut recipe is pretty simple. I was excited to learn her secret because honestly, I don't think she stuck to one particular brand of sauerkraut that she used. I don't think she used one particular brand of kielbasa, but no matter whatever she bought at the store, when she would put it together, it would always taste magical. It always tasted different. So I have that now. So let's go ahead, let's get started. Let's move on to our kielbasa. So when I originally started thinking about how I was gonna do this kielbasa, I was thinking maybe I can just make my own sausage, kind of blend it up, grind it, and then treat it just like how you would treat a traditional kielbasa. But kielbasa is cured, then smoked. So to get that natural cured flavor and cured texture, we're not gonna get it with fake meat. We're not gonna get it with plant-based meat. So we have to mimic that using some other ingredients. And I'll show you what we're gonna do. So first, let's get our Beyond Beef in a food processor, along with our sausage. We're not gonna throw the skin in. Make sure we cut the skin off. We just want the interior of the sausage in the food processor. So the first thing that we wanna do is just pulse these together really quick, give them like a nice long pulse, make sure they're mixed in. Now the reason why we're doing this in a food processor is because kielbasa it's generally like a denser sausage. It's not like a loose ground, like a chorizo or an Italian sausage. It's definitely denser and it's more form, it's cured. So we're gonna try to get that same texture. Now, all I'm going to do is we're gonna start by adding in some garlic, marjoram, which if you know, I call this the hot dog seasoning because once you add it to things, it makes things taste like a hot dog, it really does. Kielbasa is traditionally smoked. We're not smoking ours, so I'm just gonna add some liquid smoke. I'm gonna do about 2 teaspoons of liquid smoke. We're not gonna be light with how much this smoky flavor we want. This stuff's already high in sodium, but we are gonna add just an extra pinch of kosher salt and some black pepper. Now I'm just gonna give it a touch of cold water, and then lastly, our trick, our main ingredient, kappa carrageenan. Now, carrageenan is an algae. It's very similar to agar-agar, which is also very similar to gelatin. Gelatin, of course, is made from animal product. We want to keep this vegan, so we're going to be using the version that comes from seaweed, agar-agar or kappa carrageenan. Kappa carrageenan I really like because it does firm up quite a bit more firm. So that means once this cooks and kind of cools down, we're gonna end up with more of that smoked sausage, cured kind of like link texture, which is exactly what we want. Now, I know there might be a lot of people that get on me about my use of kappa carrageenan because there is some things where people are concerned about the health. If you're concerned about the health, you then use agar-agar. Agar-agar has really no health concerns as far as I know. Everything that I've read about kappa carrageenan, I feel safe to use it. But again, if you don't feel safe to use it, just like MSG, then use agar-agar. So now at this time, we're not gonna pulse. We are gonna mix this on high for about a minute. We wanna make sure that this is all nice and well combined and that the texture is very smooth. Okay, this is blended together. I mean, it looks phenomenal. It's nice and smooth. There's still some texture to it. We don't want it to be completely smooth. That would be weird. But now we're just going to put this in a skin for our skin, just like I used the last time when I made the eggplant sausage. If you didn't get to see that, it's gonna be right up here in this card, wherever the card is on either side. So to do that, all we're gonna do is just wet our rice paper sheet. Just gonna make sure that it gets damp on both sides, and then I'm just gonna set it here on my table, and then just let it get soft. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm going to make a pretty large sausage. We're making kielbasa. This is Polish sausage. We're not looking for little sausages. Now we just need to wrap these up and then repeat. Okay, these look amazing. I mean, they really did come out. They have a nice texture. It's exactly what I was looking for. Wow. And it has a kielbasa taste. So I'm gonna finish cooking these guys up. Then all we're gonna do is just let these cool down just a little bit. We're gonna wrap them up and throw them in the fridge overnight. The kappa carrageenan, or if you're gonna use agar-agar, needs time to set, needs time to firm up. So let's wrap these up and we'll come back tomorrow morning. Okay, so it's the next day. I waited a little bit longer in the day than what I wanted to, but we're gonna get started and we'll have this done by dinner. So I'm going to slice my sausages into, you know, kind of like usable pieces inside the mix. You know, we don't want anything like huge, but we don't want any pieces too small that are gonna like break up. So once we have that chopped up, we're then gonna quarter our apple, and then I'm gonna take those quarters and go into eighths. Now you can't go with smaller pieces than this, but honestly, I think a lot of this apple's gonna like cook down, and you know, we're gonna mix it in. It's not like the pieces that you're gonna bite on. You're probably gonna get little chunks of it. Now at this point, we have everything ready to kind of roll. All we're gonna do, I have a Dutch oven on the stove. We're gonna throw that like on a low heat. I'm gonna melt some vegan butter, probably about a tablespoon or so. We're gonna empty the entire jar of sauerkraut. I believe this is about 24, 26 ounces, something like that. This should be enough. Now, there's not a whole lot of water left in our sauerkraut. I'm gonna add probably about a half of a cup of water along with that. I'm gonna also add just a small, maybe a teaspoon of caraway seeds. And then we're gonna do about 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Now, I know that's a lot of brown sugar. When I was talking to my mom, she was saying really the secret is washing the sauerkraut and the brown sugar. That's how my grandma got her flavor. I kind of like the tartness of the sauerkraut. I kind of like the sourness. So I'm not gonna wash mine. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that. So we're gonna change it up just a little bit. But my mom also said that she used a ton of the brown sugar. And then once that's all mixed in, just go ahead and top your sauerkraut with your kielbasa. Oh my gosh, that looks good. Don't give it a stir at this point. That kielbasa still might break up. We don't want that to happen. This is like that plant-based problem here that we have. So we're just gonna put the lid on it. We're gonna put it on the lowest heat that your oven or stove goes to, and just let it sit for about 3 hours. I'll check on it every now and then just to see. It is 2 o'clock now. At 5 o'clock, we will give this a taste. And then here it is. Oh my gosh, sauerkraut and kielbasa. My family's New Year's traditional lucky dinner. Did you ever have sauerkraut and kielbasa?
Never.
Okay, so this definitely tastes, my grandma's version is definitely different than like a traditional version. I would say that it's like a sweeter version of like a traditional sauerkraut and kielbasa.
Okay, I'll try the sauerkraut first
Yeah,
too.
I'm excited. This could be super sweet sauerkraut.
Very good.
Very
I love
good,
that.
right? Yeah, it's just a good flavor.
Yeah.
This comes pretty close to like what I grew up with. I'm not gonna say it's 100%, but it's pretty close to what I grew up with.
Okay.
It was good.
Should we dig into the kielbasa?
Yeah. It's so funny growing up. I mean, literally up until this video, we called it kielbasi.
That's so funny because when you were calling it that, I was like, I must be called it kielbasa. I must have been calling it wrong my whole life, you know?
Yeah, no, we grew up, we called it kielbasi. Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
That's good.
I love this.
It doesn't have the snap of kielbasa. Kielbasa definitely has that snap. I'm gonna figure out how to get that. I have some ideas. I thought this was gonna work, but it does have the flavor. The flavor's dead on, so
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. What do you think, baby?
Oh, it's great, yeah. So I haven't had a ton of kielbasa in my life in general, but you know, in the way past, I've had like sausage and stuff like that, and this definitely tastes like that from what I remember to me. I love the flavor of it, and I just tried some of the apple too, and
It's really good.
yeah, and I'm generally not a fan of like cooked apple or cooked fruits, but I really love this dish. This is sweet, but it's not like too sweet. It's just enough
It's sweet
to where,
and sour, right?
yeah, it's really, really good. I'm really enjoying it.
It's so close. The flavors are so close. The texture of the sausage is a little off, but everything is so good. So yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching us throughout the years, especially this year. This year was a big year. Monica and I got married. My book came out. It was huge, and SauceStache just kept growing, and it just means so much that you all watch me week after week, and all of your comments, they're so kind and so like, it just means so much. So thank you. Happy New Year to you. I cannot wait to see what we do in 2022. It's gonna be, it's so exciting. This is just, I couldn't have thought of a better way to end this year with kind of opening up a little bit about how I grew up and what I ate.
Yeah.
So just thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.